Welcome back, everybody. Episode 7 of Smash Course coming right back at you with the same crew. We're happy to be here yet again to debate all the topics you need to know this week. Starting off with Smash 4 Boot Camp, that is on everyone's minds. So, guys, good to see you again. But I really want to dive into this because it's kind of like another controversy, and we always like to kind of like start off with this because it'll get a blood flowing, so to speak. So I know this is particularly something you've been following, Max. Tell us a little bit about what's happening with Smash 4 Boot Camp and why there's controversy over this sort of style of summit raising funds and why it doesn't come off as neatly as it did for the summit.
Sure. So as you may or may not know, Smash 4 Boot Camp is kind of a grassroots take on the summit. It's put together by VG Boot Camp, Smash CG, a couple other great minds as well. It's going to be in Vegas. And I think the reason this controversy keeps coming up, right, is because money is kind of like a barrier point for a lot of Smash players. It's a very young community. Not everyone is, like a full-time job type of person, right? So anytime money is involved, it becomes a hot debate because these kids, they fight tooth and nail for like the difference of $20 at locals, right? So here we have an event that has X amount of invited players from their legacies throughout Smash 4. A couple spots where you can qualify by being the highest non-invited player to place at certain majors. And then you have the current round that's causing this controversy, which is the paid voting phase. So everyone on their Smash GG accounts by default gets a certain number of votes, but then you can go ahead and purchase things from the Compendium shop to give yourself more votes and direct that towards nominated players that you would like to see go to the event. So yesterday we saw a round of voting close off. Players like Ally and Fatality were officially uninvited, like they were officially counted out. They were in the bottom 4. And then the 2 players that were invited were Mr. R from the Netherlands, who's consistently been a top 10 player, and Light from New England, who is the second best player in that whole region, just only behind Mars. He's a Fox player, super talented young man, but it raises the issue. One, New England Spirit Bombs are back. Anyone who's familiar with the Melee Summits knows that New England goes super hard for their players, right? They have dumped tons of money into getting Crush. Who else was the benefactor of that for New England? Was Matt, actually?
Mafia.
Mafia,
the year before.
Yeah. Well, either way, they've had a lot of players get pushed through by New England crowdfunding. And that happened for Light again yesterday when it looked like he wasn't going to make it in the last minute. He was boosted. Same for Mr. R. People are kind of looking at this as like a pay-to-play, like who has the richest friends kind of deal. Is that the future of remaining relevant in Smash? I tend to look at things more optimistically, but it is kind of hard to ignore that this is a big problem in the community for a lot of people. So I want to know what you guys think. HBox being invited to summits in the past. Joe, you just attended one, the most recent one 2 weeks ago. So yeah, guys, what do you think about this? Is this a good thing to have such heavy financial influence in the community? Is it even really that bad if it's not that great? What are your opinions?
Well, the Smash Summit obviously is, it's no surprise it raises the most money and is the biggest tournament in the green or in the black, so to speak, in terms of how much the money they can spend on pot size, how much they can spend on casters. The reason Smash Summit for Melee is so successful is because you have a long, long legacy of players and a long, long history of just narratives that people really want to see these players interact. They really want to see the fair player win. And the fandoms, I feel like, are way larger than the ones in Smash 4. Now, the Smash 4 Summit, we can check right now, but it just finished the second round of voting. Right now, so far, for its very first iteration, $38,758 has been spent by players in sheer voting, meaning the pot size is now 11,000, doubles is 2.2 thousand, and, that's only with one more day to go. So I could realistically see the singles prize pool being something like 13 to 15K for this event, which is really, really good, considering that I don't even think the Smash 4 has had a tournament that's been too far above, apart from GTX, too far above 15K even. Mm-hmm. It's good.
And that one UGC too, right? Or was that 15K each?
So, yeah.
Okay.
But Melee's had way more, obviously. So anyway, the point is that they're here now. They're giving it a go, and they're going to see obviously the first one's not going to be as big as the next ones, but depending on the success of this event, even if it's a really good show and it shows it's at a really good time that no one wants to miss, like they're going to be able to sell, more of their VIP attend the boot camps right now. They had to lower it to $1,200. I just saw to even have one backer, whereas the ones with VIP and Melee Summit, they had 6 backers within 15 seconds. And those are like $1,500 a pop. Because the experience is good. You're going to a mansion, you're getting fed, you go into a hotel, you're getting a flight, you get to interact with the top players, play friendlies, pretty much part of the players. It's something that no fan wants to miss. But this is a new thing. I don't know how the Smash 4 bootcamp's going to go. I don't know how amazingly or maybe lack thereof organized it is. I mean, I trust Gimmer, but you got to admit it's a different flair. And I think people are a little more apprehensive. But only time will tell, and I really want to see what happens with it.
Yeah, honestly, I think it mainly boils down to 2 things. The first is that Smash 4's community is noticeably younger as a result of being a newer game, so less disposable income, as you brought up. And then 2, as a result of it being a younger game, a lot of people don't have the same fan bases that players that 10 plus years in the scene have collected through their achievements and work in the community. So I think it's just a result of it's unfortunate that because it's such a new game that some players that have established themselves, like for example Ally is like top 20 in the world consistently, even top 10 at some point in his career, miss out. But at the same time, it's good to have these new opportunities come to players that maybe you won't necessarily see in the top 8 of a super major, or even have the opportunity to level up with high caliber players. Like Light, for example, he's definitely not like a meme vote by any means.
Right.
I remember Infinite Numbers, like
that's who I was.
Yeah, I just came to me too. Infinite Numbers, like people were memeing about that, and he ended up taking out some people. I think at Summit too. It might have been Westballs. But yeah, like I don't think we should sleep on these guys. Like if there's anything that I know about Smash 4, it's that the top 10, top 20, top 50 especially, it's not set in stone. Like upsets happen all the time. So I welcome seeing fresh faces, and it's cool, especially Light, that we both know, being such a chill guy, talking about how hungry he is to get opportunities like this, to be able to be flown out for the Smash 4 bootcamp and put his test, like put himself to the test to see if he really does hang with the bigs, because he has been saying like, I really just want that opportunity to show how good I am and really have that platform to potentially even get a sponsor.
Yeah, I personally think Light is one of the players I would have been most happy to see make it into the boot camp. Yeah,
he's so sick.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. So yeah, I mean, overall, like money kind of just generates controversy, right? But I also think that on one hand, it's always good to have more money flowing through the scene. Again, it makes it seem like a more legitimate cause to get into Smash and devote all this time. Like if you can actually make a living off of it, then that's way more reason to do it as opposed to like pursuing a dead-end hobby. But also because kind of any PR is good PR to some degree. I mean, we've seen like with Marvel versus Capcom Infinite that sometimes you can have bad PR. Like it's an amazing game, but it just got a terrible reputation like upon release. I love the game, but it's not doing very well. And I think kind of with Smash, though, and generating the buzz over this topic, it is good controversy to have. It gets people talking, gets eyes on the game. People are caring about it again. Tons of people are going to watch this event, whether they're in the chat saying, like, oh, this was such a stupid idea, or praising it. I mean, you're still watching it. It's still a number in the Twitch chat, and it's good for Smash overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a different issue than you might see. I was thinking, first thing that came to mind was like pay to play bands that get onto gigs just because they have the money to network and get tickets sold, but it's not exactly the same thing. So I guess we'll have to just see how it plays out. So good luck to Smash 4 Bootcamp. But let's also talk about just some of the interesting topics we brought up last week. We're kind of bridging. We're going to talk about the changing of the guard in Melee, and the reason being is that we have one of the major issues or, forefront of the changing of the guard with us today. So, as we can all see from the rankings nowadays, official, unofficial, you're number one in the scene. What is changing? How is it changing? And what do we have to look forward to next year? What is the reason behind everybody else falling behind you? I'm going to kind of like put that out to you first, Hungrybox, only because I'd like to hear what you think. I know you know your opponents better than anybody, but I think you also have like an analytical approach to why perhaps, it's not just you, but everybody else around you is changing.
Right now, even if you were to give me the rank 1, which is fair from results, it's weird to call myself like the best player in the world, because I don't think I'm the most talented player in the world. I think it's pretty evident that guys like Armada and Mango probably have a lot more raw skill and natural talent. I guess what I've done differently this year in specific is not try to be the best melee player in the world per se, in speed and tech skill and ideas, but be the best at beating the gods, if that makes sense. Be the best person at beating these 6 human beings at this video game. That's what I focused more on, and to do that, you have to focus heavily on the Fox matchup and heavily on neutral. So Crunch and I worked on that a lot. Obviously, he played a big role. Everything changed starting at Shine, which is funny because Shine was the first tournament to have UCF, and every single tournament that had UCF was... Yeah, it was very strange at the exact same time that happened. I noticed that my play improved a lot more. I wasn't messing up simple combos anymore, and I wasn't really having too much of flustered anymore. I think the main reason I would get flustered and maybe tilted during a set was because I would try to go for a move or an input, and it's not what I told my controller to do. So I wasn't losing because of my own stupidity. I was losing off of an error that was pretty much RNG. And now that's been fixed and sort of alleviated, if I do lose, it's usually only for me getting outplayed. So I'm usually not really tilted at all. So because of that, I've been able to get my combos and neutral stance perfectly. I've been able to not have a bad mindset when I play. And the other Foxes, now that they also have UCF, I'm sure they can pull off a lot crazier stuff too. But at the same time, it's just all about how you view the game. You can't put so much pressure on yourself that it's unhealthy, that it causes you to have a different wrong motivation. My goal this year, at the end of the year, wasn't to be the best player in the world, but to play the best melee I could possibly play. And if that happens to be the best, then so be it. But if it's not, if I played my absolute best and still lost, then clearly I'm not meant to be the best player. And that's okay. It's a very arduous task, and I've been, sort of going at it for the past 10 years. So it's not the end of the world by any means. I just think that the melee that I played this second half of the year really was a new peak for me, and I want to keep pushing it and defend the throne in 2018. When it comes to Armada now, to answer that second part of the question, post Armada Evo felt different to me. It felt a little more. He felt like he completed something he really wanted to do, and then I think he kind of took it not as seriously. I think he felt that he didn't maybe have to practice as much or didn't have to do as much as he wanted to, and he started losing sets to all the top 6 pretty consistently. Losing to me, I think he dropped a set to Mango, if I'm correct, at some point in the second half of the year. Apart from Royal Flush was the only one that I can think of twice. Obviously lost to Plup. Wizzy took it in Game 5. Mewtwo King beat him at Canada Cup. Leffen did the same at both Canada Cup and Summit winners. So it comes to tell you, Armada is just he was considered to be this unbeatable object, this goal that was almost unfathomable to surpass. So why would a schmuck like me be able to do it when clearly these guys are some of the most talented video game players in the world? It was a simple dissection of tactics, simple dissection of what can and cannot be done in the game, and taking advantage of expertise in a matchup, Puff Fox, that I think people don't realize is far more in depth than they would previously think. So you were given a good hand, you ran with it, you optimized it, made it as good as possible, and having some ridiculous luck / clutch moments never hurts too. So that was pretty much the formula, I would say, to why everything went down the way it did.
Yeah, the thing that interests me most is that you said UCF, which really I didn't even have on my radar really for being one of the things that started tilting things in your favor, just because the train of thought I was on was more the technical requirements of Fox. It's harder to play consistently at that level, on the physical level, and then also Peach has not the greatest matchup spread in the world, especially against Jigglypuff. So Armada's pretty much backed into Fox. And then obviously we've seen the extreme with hacks where you can like literally do damage to yourself playing this character. Like it might be borderline unhealthy to play him at the top level. Whereas Jigglypuff has a much lower technical barrier. It's not like a very high APM character, so to speak. But, you're able to just consistently beat people, where on the other hand, like you're the only Jigglypuff doing it. So I'm not really sure like if execution had anything to do with it. But then you mentioned UCF, and it's like, yeah, even as a Puff player, like that does help you, just the consistency of your inputs. And also on the mental game, I totally agree. Like I definitely go on tilt when I make a tech error, especially if it's something like that the game decided, not even your own hands slightly messed up, and that internally, it's that I'm sure would tilt you. And then also like Armada, is he going to be? I'm sure he'll be number 2 this season, but is that as far as he's going to drop? Like you said, the rest of the top 6 have been beating him. I think so too. I think he cannot drop below 2. The guy's a god.
The rankings of the top 6, barring some strange event where Leffen and Plup and Mewtwo King meet each other in a bracket, and Plup like just double eliminates both of them or something like that, which won't happen, I think, for the rest of the year. It's extremely glued right now. The top 6 is pretty much like cement glue.
Oh yeah, I mean not for this season. I mean going forward, like will eventually someone else surpass Armada too? Like is this the end of the road? Like once he accomplished Evo, is he kind of just like tapped out, or I don't know? What do you think?
No, I think he's very thirsty to have that spot on the throne again. He's defended it for a while. I know he has kind of a mental barrier against Puffs, more specifically my Puff. He's always not liked the matchup. But one of the things that I really don't understand is that a lot of times people will credit a lot of the wins to a character rather than the player itself. And it's not like in Smash 4 when as soon as Bayonetta came out, even after post nerf, you saw tons of Bayonettas getting top 8, tons of players switching to Bayonetta. Obviously a great character. I'm not saying Puff is a bad character by any means. She could be, I think, at very best, maybe the 4th best in the game. Between 4th and 6th, I would say, in the game. But it's not like she has that many more options and tools than, Fox, Falco, Marth, even Sheik maybe. It's like she is a floaty character. She has a 1-hit KO move, which is very destructive when used properly. But again, I begs the question: where are all the other Puffs?
Exactly,
all the other ones in the top 30. Even if she's just broken top tier character, where the fuck are they? I'm just being like real with it. Axe is another great example. No one ever calls Pikachu a really great character because he's not. He's middle tier at the absolute best. But if Axe started winning, a whole year full of tournaments, full of events with only Pikachu, I'm sure you'd have these idiot armchair psychologists say that Pikachu was a high tier character no one knew about. It's like the perception is not how well someone does with them. Obviously, it can influence the data, but you have to look at the character, like the matchups, look at what has been done, and look at what is more difficult to pull off. And I got to the point where I am with Puff because I got my ass handed to me by Foxes for a long ass time. And it's only now where I can actually claim that title. But it's just the result of a lot of work, a lot of just trial and error, practice, and pushing it forward. I think the next character that's going to really do that is Falco. I think even with the absence of PPMD, the character is ridiculous. And his options in neutral are some of the best, if not the best, of any character with lasers. So I think there's going to be some new Falco players spurring out of nowhere. Obviously, Fox is going to continue to dominate most of the meta. And you still see top 8s, like, let me see, what was the Big House 7 top 8, like 5 of the people were playing Fox, 6 if you count people who play Fox against me. And, it's like you have to use Fox against Puff just because it's like her worst matchup decidedly doesn't mean it's the best option. Sometimes you just got to play your main, play a character you're more familiar with, because the more they play against a player with a worse matchup, they're going to learn it more. And I keep getting more experience in Fox Puff. But that's a question even I can't answer. Is it better to play a character with a maybe worse matchup against me because I'm more familiar with it, or is it better to play the worst matchup because no matter how good against Fox is still designed to be Puff? And that's a big question mark. But it's fun. It keeps things for me, it keeps things fresh. And I know people don't like watching it, but they can go suck it. So.
It sounds like analyzing these matchups though is the key, and that's what you did over this past year, and working on the top 6 placement matches. Like as you said, that's without going into like spreadsheet territory. You need someone else to bring you to heal in a sense. So you have a coach helping you out with that, and that helps a lot, I'm sure. Yeah. But I guess you heard it here first. 2018 Falco, we got to watch out for that. But I actually wanted to speak really quickly about the collegiate scene, because we love doing that here. What are the picks generally looking like on the local so far? I guess that kind of takes us into, our next topic, but what are you seeing in terms of the technical choices for our players, or are they going more based on, what they know well, maybe something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of where I was going with the whole like Armada is playing Fox/Peach, whereas HBox is playing Puff. Like, even though I agree, Puff is not a top 3 character, maybe third at her very, very best. But like, again, it's like at the collegiate level, we're seeing a lot of this trend of the lower execution characters, the floaties, particularly a lot of Peach, decent amount of Puff, like more than you see at the regular tournament level. More Falcos than Foxes, or about a roughly equal amount. Whereas, at the very top of the tournament scene, you see heavy saturation of Fox, and then Marth, Falco, quickly to follow. But either way, Fox is like front and center, right? Whereas in the collegiate level, just because of the execution barrier the character brings to the table, you don't see him nearly as much at a lower level of play. I think, the players believe in their ability to perform more consistently with less technical characters, and that's why we're seeing that, at least on the melee side. In Smash 4, you definitely see a good mix of the top tier characters in there, but also it's a very wild character selection. Like, I think kind of the less technical players play Sheik, Puff, and Peach in melee trope is replicated in Smash 4, where like the less good but still like dominant at the mid level of play players use very weird, wacky characters. Like Rob is all over the collegiate results for some reason. He's not a great character, but he's very popular at this level. Like, his down throw to up air is extremely destructive at mid levels of play when you can read the air dodge. But again, like among the actual pros, Rob is nowhere to be found, or at least very rare, because he has some really exploitable weaknesses that just might not be taken advantage of by collegiate players. So I don't know really what to make of that, other than, kind of generalizations about like the mid-level of play. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, it definitely makes perfect sense, especially considering that tanks, especially, are so good in crews. Like, if you dual main, let's say, Fox Falcon, you're still most likely going to pull out your Falcon and crews if they're about the same skill level, just because Falcon's such a tank. And in Smash 4, the same applies. Like, considering how Rage works, and if you have one of those like heavy-hitting characters and crews, like, man, you can do some really devastating damage.
Yeah, Lucario, man, because you can go into a match with a stock deficit because of crews. Yeah. HBox, any ideas?
Yeah, no, I was going to actually ask you about your top 5 melee picks, but we can hold on.
Oh, yeah, sure. HBox, do you have any like insight into the character choices?
So you're saying top 5 melee picks in terms of tier list? Is that what we're talking about?
No. We were about to go into the another topic about the best players in each game in collegiate, but just like forget about the top 5 thing. Just like how we're generally trending toward like lower execution barrier characters being more popular at the collegiate level, aside like even more so than Fox, who is very popular at the top level. And then in Smash 4, it's like we're seeing, some top tiers, but also like just a shitload of random stuff thrown in there. Because I think it's like, like I was saying, it was because the level of play is not optimized. Like, any character can win in Smash 4, and the more consistent execution-based ones can win in Melee. You guys can cut all this shit. Just
but essentially, I think at a collegiate level, when those crew battles come to it, yes, everyone knows Fox is the best character, but people will get, I think, discouraged very easily when they play Fox, because even though he can destroy most characters, like, he's really easy to get gimped. And I think like a person who, if you have 2 collegiate players who put in the same amount of time and work, the Marth player will usually beat the Fox player, because the Fox can't always pull it off. The Marth needs a grab if you chain grabs a forward smash. So you're gonna see a lot of you're gonna see a lot of Marths, Falcos, Sheiks, Peaches, and I think Ice Climbers at that level. Those are the characters. Definitely. Yeah, those are characters which can really punish hard with not too much trouble, and I think that's what usually players lean to before they sort of graduate into playing a character like Fox. But it's a matter of preference. I don't think it's fair to really delineate, what would be the most obvious for a college player based upon how simple they are. It's all Melee gives you so much like fluid movement, fluid option choices that there's a character for everyone. So it all depends on the games they grew up playing, the fighting games they grew up playing, the platformers. I think that's really what determines what your proper character is.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So yeah, I guess we'll transition into a real quick bridge topic, and that's if you guys saw the article that we put out on Tuesday, and by the time you're able to watch this on YouTube, there will be another article that went up on Thursday about the best players in the Melee games and Smash 4 Collegiate this year under CSL. So just to real quick run through them, HBox, I know you're going to know a couple of these guys very well. On the Melee side, the names we gave were Captain Faceroll, the Sheik from UCI, Drunksloth from University of Central Florida, he plays Ice Climbers, Gatsu from the same school, plays Captain Falcon. I know those last two guys you're very familiar with. Then, of course, Zane from Virginia Tech, he plays Marth, and Crush from Northeastern, the Fox player. All of these guys have been or currently are in the top 100 of the Melee Nami rankings, with Crush being the highest ranked one. He's currently 23rd, but I mean, he's looking like top 20 material coming up. So yeah, these are like the caliber of players hanging out in TMG. So HBox and Joe, I want to just like hear some of your thoughts, or like maybe a funny story about one of these guys, just how you think they're going to play out. How UCF is.
I mean, if you want a funny story, would be, I mean, it's just the way these guys interact, because Drunksloth and Gatsu, they live together in a house with Lad and one of the teammates. Like, it's those, not with Lad, but there's definitely all very close in playing range at UCF, and they're just goofballs. They just after weeklies or whatever, they'll just hang out, chill at their house, play Smash and drink and whatnot. And they go to the weeklies very, very often, and people, they really have a fun time playing the game. But then, like, even before the whole collegiate thing happened, I saw them discussing ideas. I saw them discussing what they would and wouldn't do. But it seems to me that they had a really easy time just dominating their competition. And they really are a step ahead. I think I would pretty much attribute that to Florida's scene just being great. Mm-hmm. Jot's has been playing actually for a very long time. He just happens to be able to qualify for the collegiate games. But he was a Brawl player. He used to play Diddy Kong. Then he went to Melee, played Ganondorf. He took a game off me with Ganondorf way back then, like 2012, I think, or 11. I was like, whoa, who is this guy? And then he switched to Falcon. So clearly a very talented player. We had a lot of last game sets too. And then Drunksloth, basically the best ice climbers in the South right now, I would say. The guy has shown the ability to have in these ridiculous, you wouldn't even think about doing these setups, and he lands them. He gets the wobble, and a lot of the times he tries to style too hard, doesn't go for the wobble. So just honestly a very great pair of players right there. Well, it's Faceroll and Zane. Faceroll is just a good example of how to take, again, all the talent in your scene and really put it towards you. He's shown a lot of SoCal and flair in his style, because you have to have that kind of aggression to balance it out, especially with the players in his area. I'm sure Faceroll has to play against SFAT a lot now, Lucky when he attends, S2J, those kinds of people. So you need to have kind of this like really haphazard go for it play style when you have to. The aggression is important in those matchups, because otherwise there's going to be better at aggression than you are. So interesting Sheik player from there. Then Zane, obviously. Zane's the young god from MDVA. What all these players have in common is that they've demonstrated ability to defeat players in the top 20. For Zane in specific, he's defeated players in the top 10. I think 4 times already. I think he's taken 2 sets off SFAT. He's beaten Leffen, and he's beaten Chudat, I believe. So that's incredible for someone as young as he is. And the key to all these players is a new style. You don't take what already exists and make it perfect. You take what doesn't exist and make it your own kind of perfection. So you usually see that with a lot of younger players, probably because, I don't know, synapses are still forming. I think that's what I did with Buff. It's cool. It's just really cool to see. And I really hope there's another generation after that following to see what else they can innovate. The game has a massive depth, and it's not going anywhere. So it's really exciting to see.
Yeah, I guess just to briefly touch on that, Gatsu's quote in your article is by far so fire.
So fire.
My article?
No, in the article that I wrote with the top 5 Melee players, he said, we destroyed every other team last year, and we're going to do it again this time, only with way more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. when I read that, I'm like, yo, I gotta follow this dude on Twitter. So I followed him, and I was just 10,000 followers. So there's a
awesome.
funny little story to throw in there.
Yeah. Honestly, they're
UCF looks
really good group. And like Lad is a great shit talker too, so it's a really funny occasion whenever you see him playing against another team. I'd probably put money down they were going to win the next one as well. They're very talented.
And then just real quick on the Smash 4 side of things, the 5 players I chose to highlight were I'm Hip from SoCal. He plays Duck Hunt and Olimar. Extremely interesting character combination. We've got Saj, another Florida guy, but he's from your alma mater. He goes to UF, H-Box, and I'd say he's the best player on their team for sure. Even last year when they had a little bit more of a powerful squad. Plays Bale and Peach. Then we've got Shaky, the legend, another ex-Florida player here actually. He's playing for UC Davis though. He's a grad student, old man. Then we got Arfang from South Carolina, Cloud and Mario, and DeBuzz, 4th best player in the world for how many seasons in a row now. So it's also very stacked on the Smash 4 side of things. We've got some kind of weird character choices in there, like Shaky plays Ness and Game & Watch. I'm Hip plays Duck Hunt and Olimar, like I mentioned. But then we have characters you would expect, like Cloud, Mario, Bayo, Rosalina. 2 Olimars, though, in the top 5. Like, who would have guessed? DeBuzz, of course, having that secondary. But again, a really deep talent pool, kind of centered in the South, or if you count Shaky, has roots in the South. This is, I think the unique thing about Smash 4 is that we have a top 5 level player in the mix. What do you guys think about the lineup of Smash 4 players? I mean, the talent pool, of course, runs deeper than this top 5. But
yeah, like DeBuzz's team had an early scare. They got sent to losers, but he's shown that he has the ability to carry the team. Like multiple matches in the Tri-State qualifier, he just swept teams by himself. So he's going to be honestly by far the biggest thing to look out for when it comes to regionals, divisionals, and then finals. Like fully expect them to make it to national finals. It's just how deep is the other team's rosters where that do you have like maybe 2 players that can chip away at all of his stocks, and then the rest of your team be deep enough to compete with his school. That'll really be, I think, the decider by the end of it.
Yeah, they also have Aseto, the best player in Staten Island and best Meta Knight in the Northeast, I would say, on their team.
Like no one's going to beat DeBuzz in a 1v1 based on this top 5 list. Like
right.
Maybe take 1-2 stocks, 2 stocks, best case, but you're going to need 2 players to take them out. So you need to have, at the very least, 2 capable players to beat their crew, which, you know, it's a tall task for some of these teams that are, you know, for the most part, either amateur or for the most part, still getting their footing in competitive Smash. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think the last thing I want to say, just before we close things out here, is that none of the teams with these top 5 Smash 4 players on them actually won their local qualifiers, with the exception of DeBuzz's team. Stony Brook did win the Tri-State local, but I'm Hip, Shaky, and Arfang, their teams have all played already, and none of them won. Shaky, he wasn't there while his team lost, and Saj, his qualifier is yet to happen. It's going to be the first weekend of December, so we'll see. It just kind of shows that one player can't exactly carry a team. DeBuzz had some help from another very talented player backing him up, and they did actually touch loser's bracket. Like DeBuzz lost a match with his 2 stocks starting against the opponent's 3. So I don't know. It's possible. They bleed. We at least know that much. And then this weekend, of course, we're going to have the New England North qualifier. It's going to be in Nashua, New Hampshire. We're running back that Tri-State qualifier at Nebulous for Melee only. And then on Sunday, it's going to be in Iowa City, the Midwest West qualifier. Midwest is looking poppin'. I'm really excited for the event. Yeah. A lot of teams from a lot of different states surrounding Iowa are coming out, as well as some Iowa teams themselves.
Yeah, I think we're at 10 teams now.
10 teams, yeah.
That's amazing to see.
And what was the highest attended local so far?
Of course, that was last weekend. Thank you, Teresa, for the reminder. That was Southern California last weekend. We got 10 Smash 4 teams and 7 for Melee. So that was really impressive. A lot of bodies came through. We did hear, unfortunately, like it was kind of a space issue at the venue. So we're definitely looking out for that in the future. Like, especially in hotbed regions like that, we got to make sure that we have venues with ample square footage, like not just sufficient, but like way more than enough. We want to make these events pop for you guys. So to anyone who was rustled by the space constraints in SoCal, we got you next time.
Awesome. And, you know, props to everyone who came out to that, because that's really making our lives just so much happier to see that, you know, we have the people coming out to that, and we continue to do it because of you. So good luck this weekend to everybody coming out. And also, I'd love to keep on the shelf the idea of these regional play styles. Maybe we can talk about it a little bit more, especially when our locals wrap up. Maybe stack out each, you know, region and see what the attitudes are, because what H-Box brought up, you know, when he was speaking earlier, makes a lot of sense. You know, it depends on who your, you know, your competitors are in the region too, about how you're going to develop as a player individually too. So that goes across all games, of course, but especially for Smash. So I'd love to talk about that in a future episode. So everybody, thanks for listening in this week, and I guess we'll be seeing you around Thanksgiving, if not right after. All right, guys. Thanks.
See you guys.
Good seeing you.